I get the same social media feeds that you do, and people are still trying to act like it's 2022 where everything's booming and everybody's getting jobs everywhere, and it's not. It's Andrew here from Underground Training. In today's job hunt and mining information video, we get to say congratulations to somebody that let us know they got a job and had a 2-year career. We have a look at where the jobs are and where social media is still telling you that where the jobs are where they really aren't. And we have a look at how you can get one of the hard rock underground jobs, and we talk a little bit about what the foremans are after and how you can make a really good impression upon them so you can get your first mining job. But let's jump over and have a look at what Ahmed had to say. Ahmed was responding to my video about the human skid mark getting a job, and he let me know that he did the training and got a job back in 2023. So yeah, that's really good. And I pressed him a little bit on, what he was doing and if he's still in the industry, and he said he worked for a couple of years, bought some land back home and left the industry and changed his life. And that's really what we want to hear. That's a really good result, and that's why people get into mining. And if you can change your life after a couple of years in the mining industry and go back to what you were doing before, that's why a lot of people get into the mining industry, and it's a plan well done. So it's a really good result that Ahmed's had, and ladies in the office had a little bit of a stalk, and at the end of 2022 we had an Ahmed from New Zealand do our DIY training. So it looks like he came across, did a couple of years of work, bought himself some land and sorted himself out back home. So well done. Now let's have a look at where the actual jobs are at the moment. So I know social media is a bit all over the place, and I get the same social media feeds that you do, and people are still trying to act like it's 2022 where everything's booming and everybody's getting jobs everywhere, and it's not. There's only 2 places that actually need people in the industry at the moment. It's hard rock underground and exploration in the gold and copper mines. And one of the reasons the gold mines are going off at the moment is because of the really high price. So it's a record high at the moment in Australian dollars. That's where you're going to get your mining job. And if you come over and have a look at Seek and type underground in, you'll see all the jobs come up, and you can go through that, and we'll have a bit more of a look at them in a minute. But these are where all the jobs are around the country. This is the Australian Mining Atlas loaded up with all the gold and copper mines that are active around the country at the moment, and as you can see, there's a lot of work everywhere. And if you come back over and we have a look at this blog, there's 2 places in the mining industry that employers need new starters. Like I said, it's hard rock underground and exploration. And what you want to give these employers to give you the best shot to get your job is to go where the employers have got no choice but to hire new starters, and then give them what they want. Somebody that knows how their mine works. One of the biggest problems that the foremans have with their new starters is people that jump into it without actually knowing anything about how mining works. And what they often get is this scenario. People jump in thinking that they'll have previous experience that they'll be able to transfer over. Unfortunately, the workplace is unique, and everybody has to be taught everything from scratch. It's like I say, it's easy to teach you how to drive the truck. Nobody really has a problem with that. It's teaching you everything else that people have problems with, and that's why it's 3 in 5 fail in the first 6 months when they don't know what they're getting into. And when you get into a job interview, that's why it's so important to be able to show and verbalize to the foreman that you know what you're getting yourself into, because they get people regularly. Like at the moment, it would be at least 2 times a week, if not 12 times a week, that the foreman would hear something like, I don't know what I was getting into, or it's not what I thought it was going to be, when the person quits. You hear that all the time, and it's because these people jump into it with rose-colored glasses. They get told that from the influencers that are out there that are trying to sell people resumes, and this is the way to get a utility job, and this is the way to get a shutdown job, and this is the way to get a blah 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 job. They're all selling them the same thing, like a resume, but they're not actually giving them any knowledge on how it all works. They're just lining them up, and getting the job is the big deal, when anybody in the industry knows that getting the job's actually the easy bit. Keeping the job's the hard bit. It's really hard to put into, from when you're in the industry, it's really hard to put into words how to verbalize some of the people out there trying to give advice about it, and how they're not really, haven't been exposed to the industry. One person that I know from the industry said to me the other day that, we've got bikini models in glasses, we've got 23-year-olds with decades worth of experience, and we've got a whole heap of people that came to the country 2.5 years ago that got a job when anybody with a heartbeat could get a job. All out there trying to tell people how to get a mining job, when none of them really know or really have done any of the proper mining jobs out there. And, if you haven't been down the hole, if you haven't driven a truck, if you haven't charged up, if you haven't pulled a lever on a jumbo, how are you supposed to help people get mining jobs? If all you've done is the ancillary jobs or a utility job or driven a bus, how's that going to help somebody in a hard rock underground mine when they're having trouble dealing with a bogger operator? You need to learn as much about the job as you can when you're getting into this industry, because the more you know about it when you're getting in, the easier it's all going to be. And if you come over and have a look at our mining resume before and after, this is how we help people get into the industry, is by teaching them how it all works, and then we get you to put it on your resume. So when the foreman looks at it, they know you've done the training. They're going to want to ask you some basic questions, because if you get the questions right, then their experience will tell them that they should be able to get you up to speed in a reasonable amount of time and get a productive member of crew, opposed to when they bring in green new starters and it takes 2 to 3 months to get somebody up to speed and they all turn over more than 50% of those people. So when the foreman sees this blurb on your resume, and this blurb lights up the ATS system, by the way, because it's got everything in there that the ATS system would be looking for a truck driver or a nipper or an offsider or even a member of service crew. So it lights all that up, and then the foreman's going to be able to ask you these basic questions. And if we go over to the DIY package, and if you come down here, you'll be able to see what you're actually going to learn in the course. So if you click on there, you can come over to the PDF, and it goes through ventilation, ground support, development mining, taking a cut, firing a cut, skateway, production mining, paste fill. This is all the stuff that they need you to know. Teaching you how to drive the truck's easy. They'll spend 100 hours teaching you how to drive their truck their way. Nobody really has an issue with that. What everybody has an issue with is learning all this information and proving that they know how it all works, because if you can't show them that you're competent in all this, they can't leave you alone, and if they can't leave you alone, you don't have a job. So it goes through watering down a heading, and watering down a stope, and watering out misfires, and watering down the heading on the way out. It goes into everything that the employer wants you to know. Refuge chambers, cap lamps, signals, everything. And the other good thing about this is it frees you up to learn how to drive the truck, because what normally happens is that when you're on one of these sites and you get to these sites, they'll try and get you into the truck as quickly as possible because they need productive bums in seats. So while they're teaching you how to drive the truck, the buddy that's teaching you how to drive the truck will be telling you all this other information, and it just becomes information overload. And you'll see when you get there, if you don't go in knowing how it all works, it's very easy to get chewed up and spat out. And the other thing is that when you go in green, because there's so much turnover, if you do have an unfair situation, there's no real complaining about it, because they get so many people that come in and go out that nobody really pays any attention. And if something has gone wrong, it normally isn't addressed, unfortunately. You normally just get chewed up and spat out, because when push comes to shove, if it comes down to making the choice between an experienced person that you've got on site or the new starter, you're always going to take the experienced person if something goes wrong. So when you're trying to get into this industry, the best thing that you can do is educate yourself, put it on your resume, show the employer that you know what you're getting yourself into exactly, and then take it from there. Because if you do, there's lots of work all around the country. Like I said, you just have to type underground into Seek. There's work everywhere. But, you've got to know what you're getting yourself into, because if you don't, then a lot of people get there and they work out quite quickly that it's not for them, and they all say the same thing: I didn't know what I was getting into, or it's not what I thought it would be. And those are the things that the foreman hates having come out of somebody's mouth. So when you go into an interview and you can talk to them about how it all works and use the correct terminology and all that sort of stuff, and you show them you know exactly what you're getting yourself into, that takes all that out of the equation, and it makes it a lot easier to hire you because they're not worried about you failing. They're hoping that you're going to be an easy win for them. And that's what everybody's looking for at the moment. Everybody's looking for an easy win, and the easiest way to make yourself an easy win is to do one of the training packages. The DIY is $4.95, the 3-step plan's $8.25, and the $8.25 package is what most resume companies are charging for a resume and the LinkedIn and all that sort of stuff. With ours, you get the resume because it lights up the underground ATS system like a Christmas tree. You don't need much else, and yeah, the education that comes with it. We also have the Workready Package. That's where you get some help if you want some help, so you can have a look at that one. But it's all about knowing how it all works. That's all the employers are interested in. We get a lot of people do DIY that go and get themselves jobs lately. So I hope you found that information helpful, and if you're trying to get into the industry, listening to influencers that really don't know much about the industry or haven't been exposed to the industry in a real way isn't going to help you get a job. It's just going to help you waste a lot of money on a resume that's not going to look any different from your current resume, even though it might be formatted a little bit differently. If you don't have anything on that resume that's going to say to the foreman, instantly that I know how your mind works and I'm going to be an easy win for them, how are you any different from the other 10,000 people that are spending all these money getting these resumes done? You're not, and you're just going to go through. And increasingly, you're seeing more and more people saying that they've had their resume done and they can't get a result, and that seems to be, the new norm with social media now. When you look at a lot of the comments on a lot of these pages around the place, it's all people, I've spent the money getting my resume done, I can't get a job, what do I do now? So so if you fall into that boat, educate yourself. There's full instructions on how to redo your resume, so you can take what they've done already and turn it into a mining friendly resume using our instructions. It's not hard to create this from what they will have done for you already, but the big thing is being able to back it up by being able to learn how it all works and hold that conversation with the foreman in the interview. When you can do that, that's what will get you your mining job. So I hope you found that information helpful. You can check out the training at undergroundtraining.com.au, or if you want to talk to somebody that knows how the industry works, the phone number's at the end of the video.